sanctions, they have to use military threats as well. Of course, their military threats are a disgusting act, actually. But anyway, their officials, presidents, and all that, instead of making military threats, you'd better go improve your dilapidated economy. You'd better actually you'd better do something to prevent a 2-week shutdown of the government. Try to pay back your debts and all that. Try to improve your economic situation. They should know that the Iranian nation, as I said, with all nations of the world, with all people of the world, we respect all nations, all people of the world, but with anybody, but with aggressors, but we will behave aggressors in such a way. We will slap aggressors in the face in such a way that we'll never ever forget it.
در مقابل رژیم صهیونیستی
vis-à-vis the Israeli regime, vis-à-vis the Zionist capitalist system, they actually take it upon themselves to sometimes make some comments and all that. And even these comments, this will bring only humiliation to them. The Israeli regime is, in fact, a regime whose pillars are very, very actually weak. The Israeli regime is doomed to failure and doomed to annihilation. The Israeli regime, the Zionist regime, is an imposed regime. It emerged with force, through force, and no phenomenon which has emerged by force will not continue to exist, and this regime won't continue to exist either. Those who actually support the Israeli regime, actually the Zionist capitalist system, those who support this regime, actually their support for the Israeli regime will only discredit them, and some some European governments, unfortunately, they go and actually kiss up to the Israeli regime, and they support the Israeli regime. Unfortunately, Israeli officials cannot be called humans. They are like animals, some of them. They go and kiss up to the Israeli regime. They humiliate themselves and their nations before the Israeli regime. In Europe, the Egyptian nation, once they gained political credit because the then president of France at that time did not allow Britain, because Britain was affiliated to the U.S., did not allow Britain to enter the European common market, just because Britain was affiliated to the U.S. This was a source of credit for France at that time. Around the world at that time, the French government had a very good credit because it stood up to the U.S. and did not let Britons to enter the European common market because of its affiliation with the U.S. Now the same very country, its officials are not only succumbing to the U.S., but also they are actually kneeling before the Israeli regime. This will bring humiliation to the French nation. Of course, they have to solve the problem. Let me make a statement saying to you, the younger generation, be aware that undoubtedly the future, there is a bright and promising future ahead for the country, and the promising and bright future of the country belongs to you. You will be able to take your nation and country to the apex of honor, and by God's grace, you will be able to be a role model for the new Islamic civilization. In order for you to be able to discharge these responsibilities, you need to improve piety and religion and all that. You need to actually have purity of soul, improve the purity of your souls. You need to promote that purity of soul and religion. Today's youth need religion, piety, science, and actually good working conditions, honesty, social services, and also sports. These are the things which today's younger generation needs. And you, dear Basijis, hope, God willing, you will be able to help that happen. May God Almighty endow its blessings upon the Iranian nation. May God help the Iranian nation conquer the highest peaks of honor. May God bless the soul of the late Imam Khamenei. May God bless the souls of our dear martyrs. May God hasten the emergence of the Imam Mahdi. May God give us the honor to be among the followers of Imam Mahdi. May God bless you all.
Greetings, everybody. That was leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, addressing a large gathering of Basij commanders and voluntary forces in the Grand Musalla in Tehran. On the occasion of Basij Week, or Volunteers Week, the leader explained the Basij as the manifestation of the grandeur of the nation and power within the country. Now, coming off the mourning period of Ashura, which commemorates the martyrdom anniversary of the third Shia Imam and grandson of Prophet Muhammad, Imam Hussein, Ayatollah Khamenei also spoke of the position of Hazrat Zainab, the sister of Imam Hussein, of how her symbol and symbolic resistance should be a role model for others, alluding to her sermon in Kufa, which is described as strong as her father's, Imam Ali. Also, the leader said that resistance is required in any battle, and that we want to have friendly relations with all nations, and we are not hostile towards the American nation. Ayatollah Khamenei also said that Israel and others who issue anti-Iran threats only show their wickedness, and that we must act with wisdom in dealing with the enemies. The leader also said that, speaking in condemnation of Western countries, he stated that the policies of certain Western countries, he stated that despotic systems commit crimes with no hesitation. In that regard, he pointed to the dark points in the history of some hegemonic powers, the modern history of America and the treatment of the Native Americans, and the violations of the British that was carried out against the Australian Aboriginals, also emphasizing that the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the final days of World War II was a great crime against humanity. He also pointed to Vietnam, Iraq, Pakistan, and the torturing of prisoners in Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib prisons, which were all brought up in his address about the violations and crimes of hegemonic powers. He also censured the United States for supporting and aiding then Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein in the Iraqi-imposed war on Iran as the U.S. provided Saddam Hussein with chemical material, and Saddam Hussein carried out chemical weapons attacks against Iran during the war. Regarding the ongoing nuclear negotiations, he stated that I give my full support to the government and officials involved in the nuclear talks, but I also insist on the recognition of the Iranian nation's rights, including the nation's nuclear energy rights. That was a brief summation of the comments of the leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, in the Iranian capital, Tehran. For now, we're going to return to the normal course of programming here on Press TV.